Today's topic is the benefits of using technology in learning. Okay, so to begin with, I wanted to share this quote from Bill Gates, just to remind all of you that technology is just a tool, and in terms of getting the students motivated and working together and their success, the teacher is the most important tool. History of technology. Why is it important for us to use technology in education? Well, as you could see in the last 40 or so years, 42 years, our technology has evolved tremendously. We depend on it for our day-to-day activities. As everyone saw during COVID, you couldn't even go to a restaurant and hold a menu, so you needed to use QR codes in order to see a menu. We use it for, checking our weather, checking our stocks, communicating with our friends and family. It's really an integral part of our day-to-day activities. And because of that, it's important to also use technology to um, create content and a more interactive experience for your students in learning.
Fiddlewitz Peters. I found that access to resources has been a huge benefit in my online teaching journey. I had no idea how much was out there. And Crystal, you are absolutely right. We have all discovered way more than we ever realized was available to us. So thank you for that.
Yeah, that's very true. I'm going to discuss some tools that you could use today to curate, materials for your course. But as Crystal said, there's so many places that you could find already, wonderfully curated material, open resources that you could use in your classroom. So you don't necessarily have to always put in the work. You might have to look around and search around, but you don't always have to curate it yourself. So the benefits of technology and learning. So as I said, it's such an integral part of our everyday life. Um, you know, Kids today really don't go outside and play the way they used to. They're involved a lot in playing games on tablets or video games, and so in that sense, things have changed a lot. So it really resonates with learners today. Even people who in the past did go outside and play more and didn't have the so much technology as younger kids do today, still you have integrated that into your life little by little. Most of us have smartphones. Like I said, most of us are checking the weather or going on social media. So it's really a part of our everyday life that it resonates with learners. It's something that's kind of expected. Another thing is it prepares learners for 21st century digital literacy skills. As we all saw again during COVID, a lot of work went remote. And so it was very necessary for people to have those digital literacy skills in order to continue working. And also most of the professional workplaces nowadays, are using computers. They're using technology to give presentations or workshops. And so having those skills and teaching that to your learners now before they get into the workforce is really important. Another benefit is efficiency. So there's a lot of software and apps that you could use to help create efficiency when you're curating materials for your course. I'm actually going to share a little later on app that I just found, software that I just found that helps you to create tutorials easier. It has like a artificial intelligence in it that tracks your steps, and so it helps you create a tutorial a lot quicker than you having to remember each step and do it yourself. Okay, another thing, accessibility. So learning management systems or Canvas, that has made getting content to students so much easier than it has in the past. If someone can't show up to class one day, you could just guide them to your Canvas course online, and they could get, either notes, or maybe you recorded a lecture that day in class and they're able to access all of that, and they don't have to worry about, missing that day because they were sick or something happened that was out of their control. Um, it helps to create student differentiated learning experiences as well. So, as we all know, there's different learning styles, and some people learn better, just with audio. Some people are visual learners. Some people are tactile learners, and so, using a learning management system like Canvas and creating different um, content, videos, maybe audio lectures, maybe you're creating infographics or mind maps, all of those type of things. If you're using, a combination of this, you're helping to touch those different learning styles. Another benefit, it helps you ditch textbooks and flip classrooms. So as we spoke, there's a lot of open source materials out there that you could use, and instead of, having to go with a textbook. It helps with cost for your students as well. Um, I don't know if I have that in this presentation. I don't believe, but I will share it when I do send our follow-up email of where you could find open source textbooks that you could use in your class. And it helps you flip classrooms. So there's the flip classroom approach where you go from being the sage on the stage to being the guide on the side. So you're going to curate materials so that students could, you know, uh, watch your lessons and do all of that learning that traditionally would happen in class, with the instructor in the front of the room lecturing to students and them taking notes and trying to get everything down as fast as they can. And in this method, you're creating all of that and you're giving the students access to this online for them to take their time to go through it themselves. And then you're using the time that you would either meet in person or virtually to really guide them in the more critical thinking activities that you may integrate into your class. It also allows students to have a choice to show how they want, excuse me. It allows students a choice for how to show mastery, right? So you could have maybe an assignment where instead of you're telling them you have to turn in a paper, you give them a choice. You could turn it in as a blog, you could turn it in as a video, um, maybe create a website, depending on what it is that the assignment is. You could maybe give them these choices, and that also is meaningful to students to show what they think that they're good at. And what else? It also brings abstract experiences to life through AR and VR. So virtual reality and augmented reality. There are some cool websites that you could go to that have augmented reality that you could look at. There's the Google Expeditions that is kind of also cool that you could check out. And those are some cool experiences to just, kind of make a more interactive, meaningful experience for your students. What else? It helps to expand classroom walls and again, also kind of create more meaning, right? So you could do virtual field trips. You could have maybe somebody from across the world who's a marine biologist that you're interviewing through Zoom or some other type of professional day in the life of a nurse or something like that. So that would also be something that would be very beneficial, I think, for students, and they really appreciate kind of taking your content and applying it to real life. What else? So another benefit is it promotes social sharing. So social sharing is something, again, that students are very used to nowadays. They like to create, TikToks and Instagram stories, and it's something that they really appreciate in their everyday life. They are taking videos, they're taking photos, and they're sharing it. They like to get the comments. So using some of the technology and apps that I'll show you later on, you could promote this social sharing through like Flipgrid and Padlet. And those are some that we'll look at later. And it also helps to develop metacognition skills. So, if you're having your students work on a project, virtually, they have to plan, they have to think of all of those planning and other skills that they'll need in order to do that. So the three ones that we're going to actually focus on today are engagement, learning styles, and collaboration. How can technology support engagement? So it helps facilitate meaningful learning experiences. As I said before, you could have those day in a life, interviews with a real professional. It also helps you to deliver content through a medium that learners are comfortable with. Also, like I said before, we're so used to using technology nowadays. We're on Facebook, we're, Instagram, TikTok daily. We're checking our phones for weather calculations. So it really helps for the engagement to have those technological features in your course. And it also makes learning interactive and fun. So there's a couple of programs that I wanted to talk about. There's Nearpod. So Nearpod is a website that you could go to that has a lot of already curated content, videos with actual questions in them already. And a lot of them you could edit and add in your own questions if you'd like, or you could actually create your own video with questions within this program as well. So that's a really cool interactive program to check out. We will be sharing this PowerPoint at the end as well. So you'll be able to go in and click on the links and go to any of these and kind of learn a little bit more. Then there's Quizlet. I think a lot of people have heard of Quizlet before. It's a program where you could go and you could create a interactive card deck. So maybe you have vocabulary terms or you're creating, questions with answers on there. I recently learned that you could actually, there's a feature there where it turns into like an interactive game. There is a feature that you could play like a game. And what it is it's like a kind of like a Tetris where the term is coming down and you have to answer, or the definition is coming down and you have to answer with the term before this asteroid gets to the bottom. And it was really cool and interesting. So it's something that I would definitely check out. Then we have Kahoot, Slido, and Poll Everywhere. Later on, we'll be using Slido, so you'll kind of get an idea of how that works. But these are other programs that you could use for interactive polling, quizzes, or word clouds. And these are things that you could do in face-to-face classes or in online classes. So, as I'm presenting right now, I could have you go to Kahoot through give you a little code that you'll type into a box and you'll get to whatever I've created. And you can start answering, either multiple choice questions, polls, or word clouds. And it all starts to show up right there, real time. And it's a really good way to keep that engagement and interaction with your students. And then Slides Media is something that I just learned of as well. This is a website that you could go to that has a bunch of already created PowerPoint and Google Slide templates for you. This link that I put here will take you directly to some interactive PowerPoint and Google Slide templates, which I thought were pretty cool. And you could use these, again, in live lectures and face-to-face classes. And they're easily editable. So I would definitely check that out to use for any, maybe you want to use it for a lecture, maybe you want to just use it to put into your Canvas course for your students to check out on their own time. All right, so the next thing was the learning styles. So 65% of the population are visual learners. They prefer graphic organizers, diagrams, and written words. So how can technology help to support the different learning styles? So there's different apps and software to help create graphic organizers, infographics, GIFs, diagrams. For those, you would go to Canva. Canva is a wonderful program where you could create social media posts, you could create presentations, infographics, again, mind maps, and it's free. There's also a paid version, but the free version is great. You could do pretty much everything with the free version. The paid version, you just get some extra stickers and like images and things like that that you don't have in the free version. PictoChart is another one that you could use to do infographics and diagrams. I haven't really particularly used PictoChart in the past, but I've heard that it's really great. I've always kind of stuck to Canva. There's also apps that help you create audio lectures and video lectures and tutorials. So as I said at the beginning of this presentation, I recently found this program, IORAD. And so it has an artificial intelligence in it that tracks your steps as you're doing something. So say you had to show your students how to download a Google slide to their computer and they didn't know how to do that and you wanted to do like a tutorial, you would just open up this program, go through the motions yourself, and it tracks you. And then it brings up, all the steps that you did, and you could actually edit each of those steps. And so it makes something that maybe would have taken you half an hour or an hour to do half the time. And then Audacity, a lot of people are familiar with that. That's a program that helps you to record audio, and it's completely free, open source. Right, one more. How can technology support collaboration? So it helps to provide communication tools. So we have, Microsoft Teams, Zoom. We're right now using WebEx. I'm sure that there's other ones, but those are the big ones. And Microsoft and Zoom, we have them with Florida Atlantic University, so might as well use those. Those are the ones that we recommend. It allows for virtual project-based work. So again, through using Zoom or Microsoft Teams, students could get together virtually and they could, either have one of them share their screen and use the Google resources, right? So Google has Google Docs, Google Sheets, and Google Forms. So Google Docs is just like a Word doc, but it's live Word doc where you could share it with other students and they could all be working in that document at the same time. They could write comments to each other. There's like a little chat section. So it's really great to work for, say, if they were going to write a paper together, if they're coming up with a topic. There's also Google Slides. We use Google Slides a lot in my department for when we have kind of like our icebreaker meetings, our collaborative meetings where, we'll get in breakout rooms, we'll have little teams, and we'll open up a Google Slides and we'll work on the Google slide together with whatever topic it may be. Topics are endless. So you come up with a topic and you have the students work together on a slide. And if you're doing it real time in face-to-face class or online class, you as the host could pop into the different rooms and help guide the students in whatever it is that you're having them do. Then there's also another reason to use it is that it provides a sense of comfort. As I've said multiple times, technology is comfortable for learners today. They like using it. It's something, sometimes people are shy to talk in person, and maybe virtually they feel a little bit more empowered to speak up, to share their thoughts. So that's another reason that I believe that technology supports that type of collaboration. Padlet is is a interactive board. We're going to be using it in a little bit, so you'll kind of get an idea more of what it is. And I go a little bit more into detail later on of how you could use Padlet in your classroom. And then Mural are both interactive whiteboards. So it's an area where your students could get together and collaborate. They could create a concept map, they could create a mind map together. And then there's also Flip, which was formerly Flipgrid. So I recently learned that Flipgrid changed their name to Flip. And Flipgrid or Flip is basically like a video discussion board, if you will. You would go in as the instructor and you would post a prompt, a video prompt, and then you would have your students reply with videos and reply to each other also with videos. And we kind of go into more detail of how you could use that in your class later on as well. Okie dokie. So technology has made learning easy, interactive, and interesting, but there are also some challenges. So access, as I said, access is a benefit, but it could also be a challenge for certain learners. Maybe they don't have Wi-Fi, maybe they don't have the laptop or the tools that they need to access your course online or any of the cool technology that you're trying to have them use. So a solution for this is the FAU library actually has a library loan, laptop loan program, as well as webcams that they will loan. So that's something that you could use. You could share with your students who may not have access. They also have some Wi-Fi hotspots that they could give out. So that's definitely something to check out. Another challenge is technical issues. So that's something that you can't always avoid. And for technical issues, we have the Office of Technology. I put the help desk link there so that you can check that out. Submit a ticket anytime you're having any issues in Canvas or any issues with your computer or software, and they'll definitely help you out. They have a 24-hour service desk. All of these programs that I'm talking about also have support that you could contact. So I definitely always recommend using those tools when you need to. If you design your course with a flipped classroom approach where you're using, the time that you either meet in person or you meet virtually to do this kind of more critical thinking and guiding of your students, then and if also you at the beginning of the course kind of set expectations and find out what are the best times that if you are virtual your students can meet, then you have a little more flexibility. So if the day that you were going to do your live lecture there's a storm and nothing works, you might just have to move it to the next week or to another day. So having some flexibility there and designing your course in a way that you can be flexible is really important. And then also another challenge is that it requires more time and effort initially when you're doing like a flipped classroom approach or you're using a lot of technology. Maybe you're not familiar with the technology, so now you have to learn it so that you could use it and so that you could create tutorials. And if you're doing like a flipped classroom approach where you're creating all your content and you're adding that all to the course, you have to take some time to front load that. But the benefit is that it's initially. After that, you just have to worry about guiding your students, fixing any, issues that may come up, and go from there. So those are the challenges that I came up for using technology and learning. But I would love to hear what other challenges have you all experienced?
Yes, I'm going to be teaching 169 students this fall, biggest class I've ever taught. And, we're supposed to have mandatory attendance. Now, I don't want to have to go through a list and click them off. So I was thinking of using quizzes, a quiz, very short quiz at each class period. But then there's always going to be somebody who's sick or no show or traveling or whatever. So do you have any suggestions? I was thinking instead of requiring them to take all the quizzes, maybe take 3/4 of the quizzes.
So
Any-
are you going to be having live lectures and that point you're going to be doing
it's
attendance?
mandatory.
Okay.
It's so mandatory that, gee, it's kind of upsetting because I had a number of students that wanted to. One student had to stay home with her sick grandmother. She just wanted to be solely online. I
Right.
asked my chairperson. She said absolutely not. She took it higher up. And another student who couldn't, the class is full. So I think I've had 8 students that want to register, which would seems like, you know, not everybody's going to show up all the time. You would think they would open it up to allow those students to take the course, especially since 2 of the students needed the class this fall to graduate.
I'm sorry to hear that. Well,
It's really, really upsetting to me. But anyway, on attendance, do you have any other suggestions?
yeah, I was thinking for if you're doing live lectures and you don't want to have, to take everybody's attendance one by one, you could use one of those polling softwares that I was talking about before, like the Poll Everywhere or the Slido, and have, just like a easy question or just, who's here today and have them answer it. And it'll track all of the emails of who answered. And so that way you'll just have a list and you won't have to do it one by one yourself.
So use polling as a polling
Yeah.
question?
Yeah, you could use a polling question. Yep.
And is
You could
that
even
automatically saved under grades?
no,
Oh,
that you would, yeah, exactly. That would there's no thing
that's why
like
I was going to use
automatically.
I
Yeah.
was going to use the quiz because the quiz will be saved.
Yeah, I don't have any software that I could think of off the top of my head that does automatic grading of like participation. If anybody has one that they would love to share, we'd love to hear it. But I
Yeah.
haven't found a solution to that just yet.
And do you know if I mean this mandatory dictate that we have face-to-face lectures? I'm assuming we can still go ahead and give the lecture via Zoom and record that so students who are sick or can't attend for whatever car accident or whatever, that they could review those lecture notes. But am I going to be in trouble for uh,
I can't
doing
answer
this?
that question. I do think that that's a great idea for, like you
Yeah.
said, students who can't attend, but I would definitely ask someone in your department about that.
Ooh,
Hey,
and
hey, hey.
there's a great idea in the chat about having a barcode available on your first slide, just would automatically sign them in. I love that idea. Thank you, Michelle. And
What's
I,
that? Have a
it's a good,
barcode on your first slide?
yeah,
I didn't have
yeah,
it.
a QR code put on your first slide so that they have to scan it to sign in. That's a brilliant idea. Also, even for those who attend the class, it's a good idea to record it and put it available in Canvas because that way the
They
students
can
can go
study.
back
Yeah.
and yeah, they can review anything that they weren't completely clear
Mhm.
about. The another point, I believe that you have the option of opening the course up to those who are on the waiting list, but check with your department chair.
Oh, really? Okay. That I would have the option?
I believe that you do have that option of opening up
Uh-huh.
the waiting list, but verify that with your department chair,
Okay.
please.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Hartman. I'm going to continue on now.
Sure. Go right ahead. Thank you for your help.
Yes, thank you so much for interacting with us, Dr. Hartman. And if I could come up with anything that I could think of, I will definitely send it to you. All right. So we spoke a little bit about the flipped classroom approach. As I said before, it's moving from, the traditional classroom where you're the sage on the stage, you're doing, lectures and giving students homework that's due at a specific time. Flipped classroom approach, it's lectures and homework and all that is on Canvas. It's easily accessible. Students could do it at their own pace. You have maybe practice quizzes for, the students that need those practice quizzes. And then when you do meet either virtually or face to face, you are using the guide on the side method. So you're basically going to be there to help answer questions, give hints, and help students really critically think in whatever activity that may be. Maybe they're working on a group project, or I don't know, you're having them design a website or something like that. And this way you could, either virtually, like if they're in breakout rooms, go breakout room to breakout room, or in real person, go group to group and kind of just be there to assist with those questions and help them kind of get into that deeper order thinking. So like I said, what your responsibilities in that flipped classroom approach is to curate sources, create video tutorials, and then guide in those activities that require those more critical thinking. This is just another visual. This is another visual that kind of goes with the Bloom's taxonomy. So, if you look at the flipped model, students and teachers work together during the school day for these more higher order levels of Bloom's. So this is where they're doing that critical thinking. And then this, new material that's introduced, the content, the lesson plans, those are all things that they could do at their own time and, on their own pace as well. Okay, so I said I was going to talk about a couple of software a little bit more in depth, and this is Padlet. So Padlet, as I said, it's kind of like a board where it's a collaborative board, and different ways that you could use it would be, so you could have students brainstorm on a topic or a project idea, maybe a research question, and in a little bit you'll see kind of how that will work. And another one would be like an exit ticket. So maybe you'll have students post on there what they learned from the lesson, what they still might not understand. You could also create mind maps with Padlet, have students, have the learners map out a concept. You could do timelines as well. Maybe you have maybe your history class and you want your students to create like timeline of a history. And you could also do like maps. So you could go in there and maybe your assignment is to have your students show, their place of birth, or maybe, I don't know, I'm trying to think of another example for that. But that was like the one that came to mind when I was creating this. Like maybe you want to see like where all your different learners come from, and you could have each of them kind of do like a little Google Earth, and I'll see if I could show you an example of that in a second as well. You could also have them provide feedback. So it could be a board with all different feedback about your class. And there's a way of doing it anonymously. So when you create Padlet, you could either have it show the author's name or you could have it be anonymous. So in this one, it would benefit to make it anonymous so that your students provide real feedback. And then I've also seen it used as like a student introduction board. Padlet themselves, if you go to their website, their About Us is a Padlet. And I thought it was really cool because it's, the images of all the different workers in Padlet and like a little bio of themselves. All right, so how to use Padlet. Padlet can be installed on your smartphone, either Apple or Android phones, or you could access it through the web. To create a Padlet, you have to have an account. So you create a free account, and then the learners who actually access it, they don't have to create an account. So if you're the only one creating the Padlets and just having your students access it, they will not have to create an account. But you might want them to create a free account so that they could create their own Padlets. So once you've created your free account, you choose a style and you give your Padlet a title, and then you're able to share it with others. To share your Padlet, you can share it either with a QR code or share by link, which is, what most people do. But you could also embed it into Canvas, which is wonderful. And I would recommend that as well. You could also send it by email, and you could also post it to social media platform if you wanted to.
And Tanya, when it's embedded in the course, the students do not have to leave the course to go into to go into Padlet. They can click on it right there in the course, put their responses in, and as the instructor, you can open it up and see it right there in the course as well.
Yep, exactly. So thank you all for your time today. I really appreciate it. I hope that I gave you some ideas and inspired you to use some technology in your classroom. And thank you for joining.